know this is going to burst some of your bubbles here, but like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But my question to you, supposed Christian Zionist supporters out there, is especially the ones that, they expose Freemasonry, they expose how bad it is, and they expose who is the real god of Freemasonry and everything like that, and how the 33rd, 32nd, 31, and 30th degrees know what they worship. And yet these people that are high Masons are put in countries and leadership in countries and everything like that. But when it comes to the state of Israel, I guess it's okay. See, here's the thing. You can't compromise on anything. 99%, and I say 99% because the 1% actually believe that everything in this current age is a counterfeit, okay? So, and I believe the current state of Israel is a counterfeit. The current state of Jerusalem is a counterfeit of what is to come. You got to remember, you read, I think, Revelation chapter 19. It tells you what's going to happen. That Jerusalem over there is going to be destroyed. It is going to be leveled. Poof, gone. Okay? Now, alright. Real quick. See this name? Right there? You know who he is, Benjamin Netanyahu. He's the Prime Minister of Israel. Okay? Guess what? He's a 33rd degree Freemason. And they all worship the same God. Okay? Who is the god of Freemasonry? Did Albert Pike, one of the greatest Freemasons of all time, tell us who the Masons worship? Most of you know this, but then when it comes to the support of Israel and Netanyahu, they just say, oh, well, that's okay if he is, it's no big deal. No, there's no compromise. They worship what they worship. Let's ask Albert Pike about this, shall we? Okay, Albert Pike is considered to be one of the greatest Freemasons in history. In fact, there is a very large statue of him standing in Washington, D.C. Portraits of Pike can be found hanging in many Masonic lodges. He's one of the most influential leaders that Freemasonry ever had. Albert Pike published a book called Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry in 1871. In this book, Albert Pike reveals who the god of Freemasonry really and truly is. Now, this is from that book, Morals and Dogma. Okay? I'm going to read you these 4 paragraphs. And, again, this is what everyone appreciates what he's doing over there. This is the guy that everyone appreciates. And Christians too. So, and it's and a lot of you Christians out there support this guy and support Israel. Oh yeah, because it's Israel, right? It don't matter if this guy's a 33rd degree Freemason. It don't matter what he worships. No, you can't compromise. If you're going to expose it, expose it. Okay. This is from Morals and Dogma. Quote, that which we must say to the crowd is, we worship a God, but it is a God that one adores without superstition. To you, Sovereign Grand Inspectors General of the 33rd degree, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degrees. See, below the 30th degree, you're just left in the dark. Okay? The Masonic religion should be, by all of us, initiates of the high degrees, maintained in the purity of the, here comes, Luciferian doctrine. If Lucifer were not God, would Adonai, the God of the Christians, whose deeds prove his cruelty, perfidy, and hatred of man, barbarism, and repulsion for science, Would Adonai and his priests culminate him? Yes, Lucifer is God. And look at this. Unfortunately, Adonai is also God. So Netanyahu agrees with this. After all, he is a 33rd degree Freemason. For the eternal law is that there is no light without shade, no beauty without ugliness, no white without black, for the Absolute can only exist as two gods. Darkness being necessary to light, to serve as its foil, as the pedestal is necessary to the statue, and the brake to the locomotive. After them, the Gnostics, the Manichaeans, and the Templars have admitted, as the only logical metaphysical conception, the system of the divine principles fighting eternally, and one cannot believe the one interior in power to the other. So, basically, the Luciferian doctrine says the same thing the Christians do, they just twist it, okay? If you're going to love Lucifer, you can't love Yahweh, alright? You know, that's what they believe. That's basically what it's saying. Thus, the doctrine of Satanism is heresy. And the true and pure philosophic religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal of Adonai. But Lucifer, God of light and God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai. See, the doctrine of Satanism is a heresy. But the doctrine of Satanism, obviously, because of what he is saying here, he's basically calling Yahweh Satan. Listen to this again. And the true and pure philosophic religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal of Adonai. But Lucifer, God of light, God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai. There you go. There's your answer. Adonai is Satan, according to Benjamin Netanyahu of the 33rd degree Freemasons and Albert Pike. Okay? Plain and simple. So, remember where this guy comes from. And remember that they purposely put opposing sides together.
Hey guys, Gons here with another video for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. I am recording this literally minutes after Prime Minister Netanyahu made his speech in front of the US Congress and the House, and I get a really uneasy feeling about it, despite the fact that everything he said was pretty straightforward and agreeable in terms of a geopolitical front. And just as a starter for this video, and it sort of ties into everything that I'm going to talk about here, there are lots of internet sites that report Netanyahu to be a self-admitted Freemason through a 1994 Israeli publication called Shishi. If anyone can vet that, let me know, because that would really explain a lot. But for this video, I want to talk about the late Leonard Nimoy, or Mr. Spock. And I'm sure you've heard that Leonard Nimoy just passed away. He was the star on the hit 60s TV show Star Trek. He passed away at the age of 83 due to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And a lot of folks are bringing up the Vulcan symbol that the character Spock made so famous. But what does this symbol actually represent? Well, according to Nimoy, in an interview he did for the National Yiddish Book Center in 2013, the symbol has Jewish roots. Here's a short clip of Nimoy describing how he came about this symbol.
So I'm with my father and my grandfather and my brother, sitting in the bench seats. Women were upstairs. 5 or 6 guys get up on the bima on the stage, and they're facing the congregation. They get their talit over their heads, and they start this chanting. I think it's called duchening. And my father said to me, "Don't look." So everybody's got their eyes covered with their hands, or they've got their talit down over their faces, or turned away, turned their back to these guys. And I hear this strange sound coming from them. They're not singers. They were shouters. And dissonant. It was all discordant. And they were doing like that kind of wailing, and all discordant, not together, not in unison. And then the leader would shout out, Yevarechecho! And the rest of them would respond, Yevarechecho Adonai v'yishmerecho! It was chilling. You know? Whoa, something major is happening here. So I peeked, and I saw them with their hands stuck out from beneath their tallit like this towards the congregation. I thought, wow. Something really got hold of me. I thought, I had no idea what was going on, but the sound of it and the look of it was magical. This is the shape of the letter Shin, Hebrew alphabet Shin. Very interesting letter in the language. It's the first letter in the word Shaddai, the first letter in the word Shalom, first letter in the word Shekhinah, which is the name of the feminine aspect of God, who supposedly was created to live amongst humans, the Shekhinah.
So there you go. Now, in doing a little bit of digging into the symbol myself, I thought I'd make a few comments regarding it and the connection it has to Hollywood and Star Trek, and even the occult and the Illuminati or the Elite Order, who take their directions from fallen spirits, which will make their appearance as well in this short little video. So, as he described, the hand symbol represents the Hebrew letter Shin. According to Kabbalistic sources, there are two sides to the Shin. The right side, where the Shin possesses 3 heads and represents this world, and the left side, which possessed 4 heads and represents the world to come. Each of the 3 prongs of the Shin represents different dimensions of the human being, one being the Kesser, will and pleasure, the second being intellect, and the third being emotion. And each of these have their own paths, and not surprisingly, there are several more layers of hidden meaning, of which isn't really that important for this video, but I'll leave some links where you can check them out for yourself. Now, the ritual that Leonard Nimoy was talking about there is a priestly blessing known as the Dukanin, which is performed by the Kohanims, who are the Jewish priests thought to be the descendants of Aaron, the Most High, brother of Moses, and according to Jewish tradition have been divinely chosen to work in the Jewish temple and assist others in serving God. Here is an image of the Kohanim performing this blessing. Does anything look familiar to you? If you studied occult symbolism at all, you know right away that this is very similar to the rock sign of the Illuminati that people have pointed out for a long time. Now, I don't really want to go down this rabbit trail right now, but I did want to point it out because it is very similar. Now, the real hidden spiritual deception behind this whole thing is found in the show Star Trek. The guy who created Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry, has a very interesting past, getting mixed up with a group that called themselves the Council of Nine. Now, if you don't know about the Council of Nine, again, I'll leave some links in the description section, but in short, the Nine claim to be the Ennead, or the 9 major gods of ancient Egypt, and the 9 principles of the universe. The story is long and complicated, but in short, it goes back to 1952 when the founder of the Round Table Foundation, a medical doctor named Andrija Puharich, who had been doing paranormal and psychic research for years, brought in an Indian mystic named Dr. D.G. Vinod, who began to channel the 9. The history that follows is fascinating to look at, and many prominent people in culture have crossed paths with Puharich and his channelers, one of which was a young Israeli named Uri Geller. By the time Puharich set up Lab 9 in New York, he was backed by multi-millionaire businessmen, European nobility, scientists from Stanford Research Institute, and prominent political figures. And so again, one of the folks influenced by this Council of Nine, these spiritual beings that were being channeled, is Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek. And in fact, if you take a look at the number 9, you'll see it run through various elements of Star Trek throughout its various incarnations. But furthermore, the number 9 in general has been displayed throughout many Hollywood films, as seen here. But let's get down to the Vulcan himself. Spock was a hybrid, half human, half alien. But if we reach further back into history, we find that the Vulcan was the god of fire, where we get the word volcano. Of course, we should immediately notice the connection with Lucifer, the morning star, or Prometheus, the light bearer. He was also the god of metalworking and the forge, with the medieval alchemist Paracelsus declaring Vulcan as the god of alchemy, which might have something to do with Azazel, the Watcher, in the Book of Enoch, who taught mankind to make weapons. Now, this is interesting to consider because another name for Vulcan is Tubal-Cain. In Genesis 4:22, we read, "And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of Ariarather in brass and iron. And so how did Tubal-Cain learn that stuff? Perhaps he was taught this by Azazel the Watcher, who taught mankind all the things of making weapons and of warfare. So if you look at the Gill's exposition of the entire Bible, here's what it states on a commentary for Genesis 4:22, quote, "And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, thought by many to be the same with Vulcan, his name and business agreeing, for the names are near in sound. Tubal-Cain may easily pass into Vulcan, and who with the heathens was the god of the smiths, and the maker of Jupiter's thunderbolts, as this was an artificer of iron and brass. As follows, his name is compounded of two words, the latter of which was no doubt put into the name in memory of Cain, his great ancestor, and former Josephus reads Theobald, and says of him that he exceeded all in strength, and had great skill in military affairs." Now, all this comes full circle when we read Manly P. Hall in his book The Lost Keys of Freemasonry, or The Secrets of Hiram Abiff, this quote, "When the Mason learns that the key to the warrior on the block is the proper application of the dynamo of living power, he has learned the mastery of his craft. The seething energies of Lucifer are in his hands, and before he may step onward and upward, he must prove his ability to properly apply energy. He must follow in the footsteps of his forefather Tubal-Cain, who with the mighty strength of the war god hammered his sword into a plowshare." So, in conclusion, the bottom line is that the Vulcan symbol that everyone loves and enjoys has deep occult roots in not just mystical Hebraic tradition, but also the Illuminati and the occult and the Masons. And so the show Star Trek itself was wrought with channeled influences from the so-called Council of Nine, which I forgot to mention earlier that some folks have suggested that this whole thing with the Council of Nine was a CIA mind control operation, which it very well could have been. And so the mixture of aliens, pagan gods, channeled spirits, and the occult all come together in this one character of Spock, the hybrid Vulcan human, who was played by the late Leonard Nimoy.
We already know that modern-day Israel, at least in an earthly sense, had a lot to do with the efforts of the Rothschilds. Some more symbolism that gives that away can be found in the Israeli Supreme Court. The Israeli Supreme Court was funded by the Rothschilds on the condition that they would choose the plot of land, would use their own architect, and that the price of its construction would never be made public. Built in 1992 in Jerusalem, it sits next to the Knesset, which is the main political building in Israel. Also funded by the Rothschilds, the Knesset is the legislative branch of the Israeli government, where laws are enacted and heads of state are elected. Here's the picture of the Supreme Court. This painting is at the entrance to the building and depicts the Rothschilds planning its design along with Shimon Peres and Isaac Rabin. A journey through the Supreme Court esoterically represents a path towards illumination. The ultimate goal of the journey is to reach this pyramid, which represents the most holy place in the building. Each side of the pyramid has a circular hole at the top representing the all-seeing eye. Let's do a picture walkthrough along this so-called path of illumination from the beginning, and do some symbol spotting along the way. Firstly, the person who enters the Supreme Court finds himself in a dark area in front of a stairway leading to a source of light at the other end. By climbing these stairs, the visitor gradually moves away from the darkness towards illumination. There are exactly 3 sets of 10 steps equaling 30 overall. These represent the first 30 degrees of Freemasonry. Since there are 33 degrees to Freemasonry overall, we'll discover where the remaining 3 are later. You'll notice that the right side of the wall is made from rough old rocks, reminiscent of ancient Jerusalem walls, while the left is smooth and modern. This represents the timeless nature of the occult teachings that have been transmitted from ancient Babylon to today, and is a repeated theme throughout the Supreme Court. Having climbed the steps, the visitor finds that he is on a high point with a great view over the rooftops of Jerusalem. We know that Satan wants to try and claim the high points in a region because he wants to be the most high, so no further explanation is required here. Embedded on the floor is a line which guides the traveller to the entrance of the library, which is placed right underneath the Great Pyramid. This is the path you walk to the holiest place, and of course the library itself represents knowledge. This picture is taken from the 2nd floor of that library. The library is actually divided into 3 levels, symbolically representing the final 3 degrees of Freemasonry. The first level is reserved for lawyers only, the second is reserved for judges only, and the books on the third level can only be read by retired judges. This represents the movement through the degrees, acquiring higher and higher knowledge. The library functions like all occult hierarchies, where some information is the exclusive privilege of a select few. These are the 3 levels of the library. Right above the third level, representing the final degree of Freemasonry, there is this view of the pyramid. This is where the Freemasonry ends and the elite Illuminati begins. Directly beneath the apex of the pyramid is this geometric floor pattern, with a crystal embedded in the floor at the center. There are 6 squares representing the number of man, and each square of course has 4 sides, which is the number that represents the world. The crystal in the center lies directly under the apex of the pyramid. This is similar to the sun symbol embedded at the center of the Capitol crypt in Washington, D.C. The entrances to the courtrooms themselves look like this. They are said to resemble ancient Jewish tombs. Apparently in some Jewish tombs there were holes where the soul was supposed to leave. They have retained these holes in the courtrooms, perhaps to allow spirits to come and go in a similar manner. Again, notice the contrast between the old and the new here. The prison cells, the courtroom, and the judges' quarters are placed one on top of the other, symbolizing the tiered society as proposed by Plato and the Enlightenment thinkers. The ruling elite at the top, represented by the judges' quarters, the auxiliaries like the police and civil servants in the middle to enforce the decrees of those at the top, represented by the courtroom, and the massive ignorant prisoners below. This is one of the courtrooms. The judge is illuminated by a natural source of light at the far end, symbolically representing the light of the divine, guiding their wisdom. They retire to their quarters at the top tier to make a decision and then descend back to the courtroom below to bring their illuminating wisdom to the world. Now let's start making our way outside. No occult structure would be complete without the obligatory sexual symbols, and the steps outside the courtrooms provide this feature. Again, this needs little explanation. Once outside the building, we are then invited to visit the Dorothy Rothschild Grove. We find this plaque on the wall with the arrow. Alongside it, we also find this plaque, which also contains an all-seeing eye. Sorry about the quality of these, I couldn't find anything more clear-cut. When we follow the arrow, though, to the Dorothy Rothschild Grove, we find this monument, which is obviously an obelisk, an Ashtoreth pole. If we then go to the center of the parking facilities from here, we find this shape on the ground. Now, some people have suggested that this represents a cross so that people can trample on it as they descend down the steps. I don't personally buy into this theory. To me, it just looks like a sun symbol. All these things, again, are just evidence of the Rothschilds' occult influence.
John 18:36. Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews, but now is my kingdom not from hence." Has these words changed? Are we now to support another kingdom or a country, regardless of what country or kingdom that is? Has this all of a sudden changed to my kingdom is of this world, and we are to fight for the kingdom? That we should be delivered to the Jews? The answer is no. It is still the same yesterday, today, and forever. This world is still this world today, as it was back in the time of John 18:36. So this would include the kingdom or the land of Israel. We all know that Obama visited Israel, and a lot of people are claiming Obama's the Antichrist, and Israel, we gotta support Israel, we gotta do this for Israel, we gotta You know, Christians United for Israel. And folks, when are you going to get it? When are you going to understand that both these sides are working for the same Luciferian agenda? It don't matter who governs who. It does not matter. We shouldn't even be concerned with the kingdoms of this world. The kingdom of this world is going to be destroyed when that rock smashes the statue's feet, according to Daniel 2. During that press conference, and it was made clear to me, everyone was talking about, oh, how Obama lied to Netanyahu about this and that and this and that. Well, everyone's giving credit to Netanyahu because he's the prime minister of Israel, and this and that and this and that. Well, the thing is we have believers that will go so far, that do a really good job of pointing at the symbolic languages of the occult, which means hidden or mystery, and we know that their language to the world is in symbology. We all know about the Masonic handshake. We should know about the different images of the Masonic handshake. I've said before that it is well known or highly documented that Netanyahu is a 33rd degree Freemason. There's a lot of evidence that Obama is a 32 degree Prince Hall Freemason. And at the end of Netanyahu's opening address to Obama at the press conference on March the 20th, when he said, "Mr. President, I welcome you to Israel and I welcome you to Jerusalem," they shook hands. Okay? And I want you to look at this real carefully. Very carefully. Okay? Again, these are two individuals working for the same agenda. And I'm going to show you some other things regarding Ahmadinejad too. Here's a video from the White House channel. Obviously, you see Obama and Netanyahu here. And you see this right here? You see Netanyahu and Obama extending hands. And you see the thumb over the knuckle. Same thing with Obama. Thumb over the knuckle. And Netanyahu's hand extending over and around the last knuckle. Right here. And you can see that clear as day. Okay? Now, keep this in mind. Here's a list of 33rd degree Freemasons. I'm just going to go over a couple of them. Karl Marx. Hugo Chavez. The one that just died of lung cancer for what someone is saying supposedly cursed Israel. It's all Hegelian dialectic, folks. It's all a stage. It's all theater. As a matter of fact, you know, there's this whole book that somebody wrote that, like, every time something is said about Israel, the United States has some kind of nuclear, has some kind of disaster that happens to it or whatever. And we know that there's weather modification. We know that man is trying to play God. Hence, therefore, there's a lot of counterfeiting going on. Okay? Bear that in mind. A lot of deception going on these days. Kenneth Copeland's a Freemason. Walt Disney, Bob Dole, Ronald Reagan, Colin Powell, Shimon Peres, and look at what you have here. Benjamin Netanyahu, Vladimir Lenin, Benjamin Netanyahu, Karl Marx. Yeah, they're all in the same boat. So, and all these links will be posted below. Okay? Now, I want to take you here. I don't know if you can read all of this. I guess I'll post this below too. I don't know if you can read all of this, but this is from Albert Pike. He was born on December 29th, 1809. Died in 1891. In 1889, Albert Pike addressing the 23 Supreme Councils of the world on July 14th, 1889. This is what he says, quote, "To you, Sovereign Grand Instructors General, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, the 31st, and 30th degrees. All other degrees below are just nothing but goyim, and they don't need to know what is repeated to the 32nd, 31st, and 30th. Obama criticizes opponents' Iraq votes. This was from December 28, 2007. By Jason Clayworth, Register staff writer. Quote, "One of their most famous members, and also a 32nd degree Prince Hall Mason, became a U.S. presidential candidate for 2008. His name is Barack Hussein Obama." Okay? Written by Zenon Kwasiewicz. Prince Hall is the first black Masonic lodge in the U.S. named by its founder and master, who was the most famous black individual in the Boston area during the American Revolution and through the turn of the 19th century. Okay? So, and this is Barack Obama speaking at the Scottish Rite Masonic Center in Des Moines, Iowa on Thursday. Criticized other Democrat votes to authorize the war in Iraq. So, here we see Obama, 32 degree Prince Hall Freemason. This is what they were talking about. This Boston Globe from December 28, 2007. Barack Obama arrived for a speech at the Scottish Rite Masonic Center in Des Moines yesterday. And here you can see him getting ready to extend the hand. And you can see how the knuckle is getting ready to be positioned right above, between the first and second knuckle. Okay, the same thing that Netanyahu just did. Right there, you see the thumb. Right there. You see the hands covering over the last two knuckles. So, now hopefully that you got a good look at this. Now I want to take you to this. Here's the imagery. Members of Freemasonry always expose themselves among the other Freemasonry members. They have same signs of handshakes, arm shakes, colors of their clothes. These signs prove to the other members of Freemasons that they are their brother. The most popular definition of Freemasonry states that it is a unique system of morality, veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. When you meet any person, carefully observe his or her body signals. This is one of the handshakes. You see how I just showed you? This is the shibboleth, past grip of a fellow craft. Right here. I mean, it doesn't matter which member of a Mason does this, but The grip of the entered apprentice is made by pressing the thumb against the top of the first knuckle joint of the fellow mason. The fellow mason also presses his thumb against the first mason's knuckle. So you see the hands here, the fingers. You see the thumb. Go back over here again. You can see the same exact thing right here. Alright? No difference. Here's another image of it. This is a little different. And here's another image of it. Here's a third image, which actually kind of resembles more of this right here. This third image right here. You can see that. It's the same language. Here you can see Ahmadinejad. Freemasonic handshake. Larry King, 2007. Another handshake signal. Strong grips of the lion's paw right here. Okay. Here's the Pope. Here you can see Obama again. Extended Masonic handshake. Obama and Bob Schiffer. I mean, this stuff just doesn't go away, folks. And it does include any government leader, including Netanyahu. And there you see George Bush and Chinese Prime Minister right there. You can see how that matches more so this handshake right here. That one right here. There you can see the thumb. There's Jordan King Abdullah showing sign of Satan and plus red tie. So, again, I need to remind you once more that this right here is symbolic language. They are telling you what they represent and who they worship. I will read it again. To you, sovereign grand instructors general, we say this that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, the 31st, and the 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates at the high degrees, maintaining the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. End quote. I'm going to take you to Matthew 4. This was the third temptation of the devil. Again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world. Of what world? This world. Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world. And the glory of them. And saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. John 18:36, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that it should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence. This is not anti-Semitic, folks, and I'm not cursing anybody. I'm just pointing out the obvious, okay? I'm pointing out the obvious. Satan tempted Jesus with all the kingdoms of the world. Of this world, this age, okay? It's the same age that we are living in. It's the same age, and here you have government leaders working for the same agenda as everybody else, wanting to fulfill a one-world government, the kingdoms of this world. I'll give you all the kingdoms of this world. But what did Jesus say? Get thee behind me, Satan. For thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. We're not to be serving Israel. We're not to be serving politics. We're not to be serving Netanyahu or any of it. We are supposed to be serving the one who says, my kingdom is not of this world. And I just showed you the symbolic language of the reason why. And how so many believers are so deceived about this. Wake up. Wake up. Truth be told, truth be known, stay safe. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.